The dinosaurs in South America. This is in the swamps of Madrea de Dios. We had a colonel that was down there years ago, and what he physically saw was a dinosaur that he thought was a Dilophosaurus. Here's a picture of a Dilophosaurus. You can see down here. It looks very much so like the long-necked dinosaur, except for when they stood, they were more of an outstretched dinosaur. They got, again, very, very big back in those days. This is the area of South America that he saw this thing. Not too far at all, if you notice, from where we showed you the Ica stones, which are right down in here in South America. Not too far at all, where they're drawing pictures of dinosaurs on Ica stones. And then this colonel sees this dinosaur up here, which he really thought looked like a Dilophosaurus. His son was with him, and he drew this sketch. This is not a picture. It's a sketch that he drew of some of the footprints that they saw in the sand and in the mud as they were walking through. These are not your normal size footprints, folks. These are big footprints, whatever did make these things. They went on to say, a cook from a hotel in the Amazon jungle, he said he saw a snake which was better than 100 feet long, which would hunt it down, and they killed it after this snake had eaten 2 of the soldiers that were out there. Remember what I told you? Reptiles never stop growing. They never, given right conditions, right areas, reptiles never stop growing. This is a 100-foot snake that when they killed it, they found the soldiers inside of it. It was actually inside we got another picture, which I don't show, it's in the back of a truck, of what they've done. This is a picture right here. Witnesses claim this snake was better than 150 feet long, seen in the Amazon River. That, folks, is a big snake. Very, very large. Better than 150 feet long. Reptiles never stop growing. Why did dinosaurs get so big? Give them a few hundred years and give them the right conditions and a lot of food, dinosaurs are going to get very, very big. This is the area of the Amazon jungle about which when they found the snake right here. And a lot of the stuff here, again, you can look on the internet and find it. We talk a little bit about Loch Ness. Some people say, do not talk about Loch Ness. I say, why not? I'm bold enough to say, why not? A lot of people say it discredits you a little bit because Loch Ness is fable. Well, my question is Loch Ness fable? Who said it was fable? This is the area of Loch Ness that we're talking about right here. Notice out here is the sea, and notice the rivers that go out to the sea from Loch Ness. It's a very, very long stretch, about 24 miles long, about 1 mile to 1.5 miles wide. Loch Ness is a big area. They've had better than 9,000, I understand now the number is up over 10,000 sightings at Loch Ness. Some 3,000 have been recorded, and they've actually, whatever they do to verify the sightings of what the people have seen. But this is a fact, folks. In 1933, there was better than 52 sightings of individual groups of something in Loch Ness. I think I know what it is. I've got a theory of what I think it is. But the fact is, somebody saw something in Loch Ness. I've got to believe that. Now, people say, no, those are all fairy tales. No, the fact is, only less than a handful, about 5 or 6 they've proven were hoaxes. People trying to get rich, people trying to get famous. The old hoax picture of the submarine with the curly thing going up, taken at night. All these things are happening. But because you've got 5 or 6, let's say a dozen people out there that want to get rich and famous, what are you going to do with the other 9,000? Somebody has seen something in that body of water. I've got to believe it with that many people looking at it. Better than 9,000 have been reported sightings in Loch Ness. What this guy here says, others insist Nessie must be a plesiosaur. If you ask me what it is, that's what I think he is. I think he's a form of a plesiosaur dinosaur. There must be a plesiosaur. One thing wrong with this is that plesiosaurs believed to have become extinct 70 million years ago. Wait a minute. Because this guy thinks they went extinct 70 million years ago, that can't be a plesiosaurus. Well, number one, I don't believe we're 70 million years old, okay? Number two, who said they went extinct? Remember, the oceans are one of the most undiscovered things in our whole entire planet. We know more about space than we do the bottoms of our oceans. What about the flood? Plesiosaurs were like the fish. They were sea-dwelling dragons. They live in the sea. They were happy. Man, they had the whole earth to swim on. They had no problems whatsoever during the flood. Plesiosaurs had no reason to die out whatsoever. And when the waters came down, they could have very well been stuck in pockets. Things like Loch Ness. And we'll show you something else about Loch Ness here in just a second that says maybe he's really not in a pocket. But this is a plesiosaur. Notice this flipper. It's kind of a diamond-shaped type of what they call the diamond-shaped flipper. The Chronosaur and the Elasmosaur. All basically the same type dinosaurs that have been found from the bones that we try to reconstruct these things with. But most of them all have these long necks. Some have a little bit shorter neck, but they all tend to swim or are assumed to have swum with their head outside the water. This is the picture. Now, a lot of you are going to recognize, no, that was a fake. It was an island floating. Notice this is the original picture that the person took at night, a camper inside Loch Ness. Notice the hump, and notice it goes down, and notice the neck over here. When this picture came to America, this is what you saw when they posted it in the digest. They cropped the picture for you Americans. We're also Americans. And notice what happened here. They posed it off to be it was probably a floating lump of something or an island going down the loch. What happened to the neck that was in the picture? They cropped the picture and then posted it for you and I to see because they do not want the plesiosaur to be alive. They can't have these kinds of things because they've been dead for 70 million years. So they don't want these animals to be alive. One of the better pictures is this one here. This guy here built a submarine in Loch Ness, for Loch Ness. Guy out of South Carolina, NessieProject.com. You can go out and take a look at it. But he built a submarine. He says, I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna try to find what's going on with this animal. If there's anything down there, let me go across the bottom of the waters and see if there's anything down there. They went out shortly after him, and they did what they called the deep scan. And what they found with deep scan, this is what the submarine began to see. When they did the Operation Deep Scan, this is what they found at the bottom of Loch Ness. The bottom isn't anything but flat. It's nothing but mountains, ridges, caves, and everything else. When they got done with deep scan, they said, hey, no wonder you can't see this animal. If there's something in there, he could hide anywhere. He could hide anywhere he wants, and you'd never find this animal. They also found along all the walls and the banks of Loch Ness here, they found caves, where the caves are going back into the water. I alluded more like a beaver dam type of thing. Where he said you could dip into a cave and be in there for weeks, months. You'd never see that animal. Never have any idea that the animal's even in there. He says, there's no way. If the animal wants to elude you, he will. You'll never find this animal. So this is the bottom of Loch Ness. This is a picture of a flipper. We've got a better picture of the diamond to show you what they look like. What they call the diamond shape, which is what they call them. I'm not sure if they're completely diamond shaped. But they, and the plesiosaur, elasmosaur, chronosaur, these type of sea-dwelling dragons, they find this shape very, very popular. But this guy in the submarine said that something swam by him so quickly that it actually disrupted his submarine. In one of his articles, he says it almost turned him completely upside down. The animal was so large and caused such a weight by the submarine when it swam by. You got this picture here of a couple of flippers. Again, we show the idea of what the flippers look like, and this is the picture, the actual picture of what he had. I don't know what's down there. I know this. I think something's down there. But this is the other thing too. They say that they only see him at certain times, in certain seasons, whatever that may be. Has anybody ever considered the fact that maybe he does not live at all in Loch Ness? Remember the rivers I showed you that went across the top? There's one theory that's came out that said he may not live there at all. He may act like other animals do across the entire world. He may go into the loch, have their babies, feed the babies and get them to a certain point in there and leave the loch and go back out the channels and go back out to sea. He may not be actually a Loch Ness, living in Loch Ness at all. It may be a spawning ground in there. We don't know. We're not sure what's out there, but there are a lot of good theories out there that say something's there, and here's what it may be doing. We're not really sure. This is somebody that wrote an article that said, I saw something swimming parallel to a ship underwater. A very curious creature around 4 feet long. Had a neck, large flippers, and they believed that it was a young plesiosaurus swimming next to the ship. Again, these people, I don't think they had any reason to lie. But a Queensland correspondent wrote me about a plesiosaur that was taken in a net. They have captured a couple of these. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of some dead ones that have been captured. But they caught one in Mudgee, Australia. They sent him a sketch. They said, that's the same animal. That's the same animal. These are plesiosaurs. I think plesiosaurs are plentiful inside the oceans. I don't think they got any problems whatsoever living out there in the area. Here's a dead animal that's caught in over 900 feet of water by a Japanese fisherman. 900 feet, pretty far down in the ocean. They cut this animal. They did the first when they brought it out. They said it stunk so bad they couldn't stand it on the ship. When you read the full article, but what they did, they cut a couple of his flippers off right here, and they pulled some protein and some other vitamins out of them that they could do some testing on them. There was also a marine biologist on this boat right here. Interesting fact, look at the neck on this thing. As you look down, look at the small head. And you can see back here, you can detect the flippers that were back here, which they actually took one of the flippers off. But this, folks, don't look to me like no whale. Now, that's what they want you to believe this is. They want you to believe, not a whale. This one here, they said, was a basking shark. Probably some form of a basking shark. Well, I've looked at a lot of sharks, and I ain't seen none with no necks on them yet. And I ain't seen no sharks with a head quite that big yet either. Sharks have larger mouths, and they certainly don't have necks by any stretch of the imagination. Some skeptics have argued that the fact was because of the protein that was pulled had elastidin in it. Elastidin is a protein found in a shark. This is the question. Who has caught a living plesiosaur to check what his elastidin is? What are you comparing it to? You know, because you want to say he's got shark protein in him, he's a shark? No, that doesn't wash with me. It doesn't quite make a lot of sense. But some people said it was a decomposing basking shark because of the protein I was just telling you about. Humans and apes have very similar protein, but folks, we're very different. Okay? Now, we may argue that with some of our kids who may climb the trees and but the fact is we're very, very different. Okay? 96% closeness in protein makes you a completely different kind. They don't tell you these things. That when they find a 4% differential, when they're looking at things like DNA and things like protein, when they look at 4%, now normally, if you got a 96% in a school grade, that'd be good, wouldn't you? You'd think that's very close to perfect, wouldn't you? We think that 96% is very close. But when you begin to study protein and DNA and stuff like that, you're talking about completely different kinds. They're not even similar. They're not even remotely similar when you get that much of a variation. But they don't tell you that. They say, well, they had 96% similar DNA. Fact is, who's seen a plesiosaur? What they should look like. The fisherman here had a marine biologist. He looked at this thing. He says, I don't think it's a basking shark at all. Well, I agree with this guy here. I don't think it was a basking shark either. Sharks do not have necks. That's just a fact of life. A huge creature which looked like a dinosaur washed up on Russia's shore shortly afterwards in 1994. Russian news service reported the carcass was over 39 feet long. Looked just like a dinosaur. Again, a plesiosaur. This picture here was taken on a beach. They're trying to find out, does anybody have any more details about what this animal could have possibly been? Folks, these are strange animals. These don't look like your everyday sea animals that you would see out there. What could they possibly be? They talked in 1998. They talked with Pete Peterson. He runs a bait shop off of Lake Erie. You know that up by New York, up there, Pennsylvania, Ohio. He runs a bait shop up there. He's also a taxidermist. He wrote a story about walking on the beach of Lake Erie about 6 years ago. He found a dead baby creature. Had no idea what it was. Had never seen anything at all like it. Took it back. He says he stuffed it, or whatever a taxidermist does. Stuffed it up, preserved the thing, and he gave it to Carl Ball, which is a creationist museum in Texas. You can still go to Texas and look at this animal. This is what this man found, laying on the shores of Lake Erie, and he stuffed it. It's still sitting there, and it's still there for you and I to take a look at. If that ain't a baby plesiosaurus, I don't know what it is. Very, very strange things that have been found on our shores. The four flippers, the long neck, the small head. Very, very similar to a plesiosaur. Again, there's your picture of a plesiosaur, what we think they looked like when they were all grown up. In Monterey, California, in 1925, many of you may have seen this picture here just south of San Francisco. This animal was washed up on shore. This is another interesting one here. Notice the head on this animal right here. People will say, well, that's a fairly good sized head. Well, it's not when you look at the entire body. This animal here washed up on shore. He had a 20-foot neck, and here's his body over here. Real good article on this on a book called Shipwrecks and Sea Monsters. If you want to borrow it, we've got it in our ministry. That we've got a good picture of this guy here. This guy here was signed off as being a whale. Yes. Some of the claim is a rare form of a whale. But again, we ask the question, where is the neck on a whale? And oh, by the way, this guy here had a 20-foot neck. Okay, whales don't have necks. Where did this animal come from, and what is he? Here's the neck on a whale. Probably 6, 7 inches, maybe a foot on a big one. Folks, they keep trying to sign these animals off because they can't explain what they are. They have no earthly idea what these animals are, and they want to explain them off and say they're whales, they're sharks, there's something out there in the sea that we can't quite explain, but we think they belong to the same family. Well, I got another opinion. I think he's wrong, because that ain't no whale, what they're finding out there. This is an examination of the animal we just looked at. The neck was fully 20 feet long. A type of plesiosaurus is what this man said he thought it really was. Probably something back in the prehistoric age. He had 2 short feet, he had flippers, he swam with his head high above the water, is what is assumed about this animal. We're finding very strange things that are out there in this world. But Psalm says, thou didst divide the sea by thy strength, thou breakest the heads of the dragons in the waters. God was very clear in his word, folks. Dragons were made in the water. They were made in the air, they were made on the land, and dragons were made in the sea. God put them in all 3 places. And the beauty is, the dragons that lived in the sea were not killed by the flood. And therefore, if they weren't killed in the flood, what says they're still not out there? Can we all agree there's plenty of fish out there to eat? Unless you go fishing with me, you might doubt if there's any fish in the sea at all. And that would be another story sometime. If you ever want to go fishing to catch fish, don't take me. But the Bible's very, very clear, okay? The dragons were in the water, and they have plenty to eat out there. And Isaiah, he says, he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. The Bible clearly says over and over again, dragons were in the sea. Let's leave the plesiosaur, the guy in South America, and Mkele and Bembe. Let's talk about Kangamato. Kangamato is a very, very interesting subject because these are not only seen then, but they're being seen today. I've been trying to get some current articles because when we talk about Kangamato, they've just sent a team over to the New Guinea Islands because they've got strange sightings over there on the islands. They set up this bird with a horn off the back, huge, huge wings that flies out of the jungle, comes out, gets food, and flies back into the jungle. They found them in about 3 or 4 different sizes out there. And the people say they're a nuisance out there, but somebody come over and look at them. They began to look at pictures of these animals in the New Guinea Islands, and the people said, that's him. You're talking about pterodactyls. Pterodactyls are alive and well. I talked on a cruise ship our last cruise that we went on. I don't know if I shared this story with y'all or not, but they went down there. They went down there. I was talking to one of the guides up there about creation, and we got to talk about pterodactyls. He says, "Man, we see that bird over there on one of the islands over here. Not very big. They're small. They're very, very small, but they fly out of the woods. They always come out at dusk. They fly out. They come out. They catch whatever food they're doing. They take it back in. We see them. We don't see them on every cruise, but it's not very rare to see them at all." So we had a chance to see them over there. We didn't get to see them on that cruise there, but they were out and about. Me and Linda were off doing something, probably spending money on the island. With Kangamatos out there flying around. But these animals are very, very common to actually see. What they call, and we call them Kangamato. They're pterodactyls. Kangamatos, what they call them in Africa. They had this boy here from LSU. He was over there in Kenya, Africa, and he said their favorite food was decaying human flesh. He says the people begin to die over there, and they can't get them buried fast enough. These birds will come out, and they'll begin to eat on the people. They really enjoy decaying flesh over there. Frank Mellon, another guy from Africa, he kept coming upon rumors about this animal that was called Kangamato. He was in northwest corner of northern Rhodesia. This is the area that we show you in Africa where he was actually looking at. He went down to the Belgian Congo, and he was asked, and the natives told him about a bird. But they said this, it's not exactly a bird. It's more like a lizard, with wings and skin like a bat's. Some people call it the big flying black bat, is what some people want to call them. But they go on. They showed him a picture. Notice what they did. They never try to coerce the people's minds. They showed him a picture of a pterodactyl and other animals. And let the people choose. Are any of these resembling it? The people pumped up and began to mutter, Kangamato, Kangamato. When they began to look at the pterodactyl, they said, that is the bird. A flying pterodactyl, alive and well. Not dead whatsoever. In South America, let's leave Africa and go to South America, to the northern parts of South America. They've got Indian stories down there about a giant bat that they greatly fear. These people have a deadly fear of this particular animal because he's been known to capsize canoes, and he's even been known to carry off the Indians. Now remember, folks, most people in those areas of the world are not 200, 250-pound people walking around. Most of the people in areas are smaller, and there's one area in Africa where they talk about the same thing in the pygmies. They don't get near. They call him the big, giant, flying black bat. They don't get near him because he's been known to carry the people off. Again, do they like declaimed flesh? If they like the taste of human flesh, they're going to go after you. But these folks here have got eyewitness saying they have definitely carried off Indians. But again, so they went in. They're very terrified of this animal. They sent their bravest men out, and they killed one of these creatures years ago. Now what they do, because they're religious people, they take it up to the top of the river, and they bury the animal at the top of the river, which is, in their spiritual worlds, many times they'll keep spirits away and do different things when they kill these animals. But they showed them a picture of a pterodactyl. Their guys got big as saucers, and they said, that is the bat. That is the bat. The flying cangamato of South America. They positively identified this extinct dinosaur living just a few miles away from this particular little village. Why teach about dinosaurs? And I'll tell you, go out on the internet, folks. There's a good site out there called, if you want more information on this, cryptozoology.com. Keep an eye on our website as I get more information, especially we're watching this team in New Guinea. Because these are not all creationists. These are also the worldly people that are going out there. Some of the evolutionists are looking for this animal. Because they've got some very, very serious problems if they find pterodactyls out there. Because the fact is, they're not going to be dead 65 million years ago. And their theory is going to turn upside down. So we're keeping a real eye on this one here, this team going out to New Guinea. But, we've told you before, why teach about dinosaurs, why talk about them? Because Satan's using them, Satan has used them to spread his lies of evolution and to keep people from knowing the truth of what God truly created. God created these magnificent animals. And I know when Job looked out there and he said, he's chief amongst the ways of God. These people, as we record, and I've showed you things about living dinosaurs, people have recorded dinosaurs throughout the centuries in their lifestyles. Folks, you and I are Americans. Just because you and I don't see them walking around Columbus, Mississippi does not mean they're extinct. It just simply doesn't mean they're extinct. There's other parts of the world, there's a lot of strange things going on, a lot of really strange animals that are being found. But Christians are very confused about dinosaurs. That's why I believe we need to teach about dinosaurs. Christians are very confused about where they fit into the Bible and where they fit into the timeline of things. If the Bible says 6,000 years old, then where are you going to put the dinosaurs? Where are you going to put the Ice Age? Where are you going to put these things? Well, they're all answerable as we look at the evidence. They're a great evangelistic tool. I told you one time last week, many people won't talk about John 3:16, but get them talking about dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are a great subject. Everybody will talk about them. And you can wrap dinosaurs right back into the Bible again. And before you know it, you're sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ, and you started out talking about dinosaurs. Tremendous evangelistic tool. And I think God should get the glory for all of his creation. I think God should get the glory for everything that he ever created. Job once again said he is chief amongst the ways of God. Look how Job put this. This is when he was talking about Behemoth in Job chapter 40. He said he is chief amongst the ways of God. He that made him, speaking of God, God made him, can make his sword approach unto him. Job said we can't get near this animal. But the one who made him can approach his sword unto this animal. This animal, whatever it was, I don't believe it was an elephant. I don't believe he was a hippo. I believe he was a dinosaur, and I believe he was a big dinosaur. A really big dinosaur. And Job looked at this thing and said, oh man, he's chief amongst the ways of God. This is the biggest thing God ever did make. People have always lived with dinosaurs. God made the world. God made all the things that are in there, folks. But yeah, go home and look at your kids' textbooks. It'll say millions of years, and dinosaurs have been dead for better than 65 million years. The fact is, people around this world are seeing these animals. They're seeing them, they're alive, and they're well. Now again, remember the definition I showed you? A dragon, rare. They're not running all over the woods, okay? Don't turn to rocks and expect to see a stegosaurus sitting there. They're rare. They're very, very rare. But the fact is, they're out there.